Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mulume. If this is your first time on this channel, please do not make it your last by clicking on the subscribe button. And guys, welcome to yet another video. So this one is a sit down video, yeah. I have had a somehow day. But I just stuff that's on the bed. So guys, today I want to talk about a couple of books that I bought recently, and I'm looking forward to reading them. But I just wanted to talk about it. Oops, let's get comfortable. But I just wanted to talk about them, yeah. So very different from the books that I normally read. Normally I would read fictional books. Actually, lately I have been, I think for most of 2023, 2024, and yeah, I read a lot of fictional African literature, right? And I really enjoy it, honestly. But the thing about it is that the books that I'm exposed to are really by Nigerian authors. And if you know anything about Nigerian authors, they tend to rotate around a certain number of topics. So after you've read 10, 15, 20 of their books, it begins to sound repetitive, right? So every now and then you need to switch and change genres a little bit. Actually, I really do enjoy African literature. I just wish that I was exposed to more books from African writers from different African countries, right? Like I would want to read books from Southern Africa, from Eastern Africa. So far, I mostly have read books from Central and West Africa. And again, a lot of Nigerian authors. And after having read them, I just feel like everything was Biafra. It was so sad. Like there's a lot of war, sadness, trauma, rape, domestic abuse, just so much negativity. After a while it begins to, and if you're an avid reader, you realize that sometimes when you read a certain type of book too much, you begin to internalize it. So I was just like, man, can I just read something happy? Does everything have to be so sad, right? Something distracted me, sorry guys. Anyways, in a bit to just shift from reading those things that I normally always read, I got a couple of books, self-help books actually. Why? Because I'm getting into very big girl age, and I just feel like self-help is like a proper big girl thing to do. But also I used to read self-help a while ago. I would say maybe 6 years ago. I used to read self-help. And I noticed also the same reason why I changed genres, for the same reason, right? After a while, I felt like it was beginning to feel repetitive. Like I felt like the books began to sound the same, to feel the same, but it was interesting to watch. I wanted to read, I want to even believe that certain steps or certain things that I did in my life at that point in time was as a result of the books that I was reading. So anyway, I decided to get back into reading self-help. The day that I went to do my hair at the salon, by the way, I did a sewing. From the salon, I could actually see this, was it a bookshop or something? I don't know. But I could see this place, and I was just like, you know what? I popped in after I got a couple of books. I actually got 6 books in total. And I just want to say that books are getting really expensive. And that even reminds me, I saw a couple of man, books are getting so expensive that, I mean, they always have been, but I don't know if it's because now I'm an adult that they kind of seem even, no, actually they're getting more expensive than they used to be, because I'm now beginning to think, when I was in secondary school, I used to buy a lot of books and they were cheaper. If I'm being honest, it's also because they were second-handed books, right? But they were really cheap. And at that time, I used to read a lot of foreign novels. A lot. In fact, everything that I was reading was foreign novels at the time. Actually, I hated African novels when I was a teenager. When I was in secondary school, I didn't like African novels because I thought all African novels were like Chinua Achebe, what we used to read them as school books, so it took away the fun of it being like a novel that you read for pleasure, right? So I used to read a lot of foreign, international, Daniel Stills, you know those people, Dan Brown, what's the other guy, James Patterson, Nora Roberts, those people. If you know, you know. I used to read a lot of their books. After a while, I just got tired also, because I was like, what's with the foreign books? Can we have some African books? And also there was a rise of African authors who were writing interesting books which you would just read for fun, as opposed to it being a secondary school textbook. Either ways, I came here to talk to you guys about these books that I bought, and I have rambled for too long. So I'm going to start with the ones that I got influenced by BookTok. So if you know anything about self-help books, you know that there's some of them that are really, really just popular, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, like you know the popular ones. Anyway, in terms of those popular ones, I got 2 of these ones because I was influenced from BookTok, from the people that I follow on BookTok, from YouTube. When I watch YouTube, people who read self-help almost always recommend these 2 books. So I'll start with Atomic Habits. If anybody has recommended you a book which is self-help, if they recommend 5 books, Atomic Habit will be one of them. So I picked up this book because it's everybody's highly recommended. It's on everybody's highly recommended list. And I was like, you know what? If people like it so much, there's definitely something in it that sparks their interest. And as such, I want to know what it is, right? I kind of believe that I know the theme, even without reading the book. I kind of know the theme. But I also want to believe that for a book to be like this and for it to get that popular, it probably has some gems in it. So I'm looking forward to picking up some of the gems in this book. Also, my dad has this book already. I don't even know why I didn't just steal his copy and read. But I also feel like self-help books are books that you read like the Bible. You have to have your copy, because sometimes you have to read it and reread it and reread it. You don't just read it like a novel where you just go through, where you can borrow it, read it, and then give it back. When it comes to self-help, you have to read, and then when you need it later on in life, you go back and read. So I was like, you know what, I might as well just buy my copy. I'm also thinking of growing my personal library. So I have this. Anyway, I want to believe that Atomic Habits also just talks about building small habits that help you in the long run, right? That's what I believe. In the same light as Atomic Habits, I want to feel like this book also, The Psychology of Money, it comes in very highly recommended. By the way, I already feel like I'm doing really well in the money aspect. So like I want to believe that I manage money well. I want to believe so. I also recently started following a couple of women on Instagram and I've been taking some tips from them. I think one is Financial Jennifer, My Money Africa, and those women have like really good tips on managing money, saving money, investing money, and stuff like that. I've been learning a lot of that not really recently, maybe like in the last 1 or 2 years. And I just felt like, you know what, in terms of just gaining more knowledge on money as I'm getting older, I might as well pick up this book, because I like when people talk unabashedly about money. So yeah, looking forward to reading this, and hopefully I'm going to be able to tell you guys what I feel about these books. The very next one is Start With Why, Simon Sinek. And I bought this book because I was also influenced, and it looks beautiful, but that's not why I bought it. I bought it because I was influenced. I feel like Start With Why, it really just helps me, because also I feel like I've also come to the point in my life where I have a lot of whys, right? And I'm not very sure why I did certain things in the past. And I just want to be sure that moving forward, the things that I do is because I'm certain of my why. I'm not just doing it because it's trending, or because it's a new thing, or it's because, I just don't want to be influenced to do things that do not go in line with my path. So I feel like this book is one of the good books that could help you to just know your path and remain on it. So that's why I picked up this particular book. And I think Simon Sinek is also really he's a well celebrated writer. I'm also going to talk, maybe at the end of this book, I'll talk about, at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about some of the books that I saw that I didn't quite buy, and I'm not sure, and I'll tell you guys why. Actually, I'm sure. I picked up this one, The Compound Effect. I feel like recently, like starting this year, I've picked up a couple of habits, and I've done them over a period of time, and I've seen how little habits, well, maybe not little, but how small habits could compound to make like to have a good effect. So when I saw this compound effect, I was just like, you know what? I've just experimented this thing in my own life, and I've seen it, and I want to see what this person thinks. I've never heard of this writer before, to be honest. This Darren Hardy, but I just felt like the compound effect is something that is already happening in my life, and I just want to know more about it. And by the way, it's a small book. This book was also less expensive than the rest. So I was just like, you know what, if I'm going to just try out one book, this should be it. Looking forward to reading this. Looking forward to reading this. This one is still in the wrap. The Mountain in You. Actually, this happens to be one of those books where it's overly recommended. So when I saw this book, I was like, oh, I've seen this book before, never read it. But I also just read the back of it, and it just talks about how a lot of the obstacles that we have are obstacles that we create for ourselves, right? So more often than not, we struggle because we're self-sabotaging. We struggle because we tell ourselves that we cannot, and then we believe it, and then we struggle. So I was like, you know what? It's not that big. I might want to read this. I liked that the inside is brown paper. But everything that I bought is brown paper because my eyes are not very good. Suffering from years and years of reading and just coming from a family that has history with bad eyes, I only buy books that have like brown pages. So this Mountain Within You, I'm going to try and read it and tell you guys what it's like. But looking forward to reading this one too. This is the last book, because actually I think I bought 6. Yeah, I bought 6 of them. So this is the very last one, and it's actually the one that I'm looking forward to read the most. It's actually the one that I have started reading. Because I feel like, first of all, I like Japanese a lot, right? I like Japanese people. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Secondly, I feel like they are a couple of steps ahead in life. I like Japanese people. I like Jewish people. Those two people, I feel like there's something that they're doing in life. Like they've gotten, I don't know how to express it, but I feel like they came to life with a manual that we don't have. There was also Ikigai that I didn't pick up, but I'll talk about the books that I didn't pick up later on. But generally, I just feel like Japanese people are very smart, and this book has 2 Japanese authors. I was like, but that's not even why. I like the title, and I also feel like I've come to a point in my life where I've just realized that being disliked, when people don't like you, it frees you. It frees you to do the things that you like. I'm a recovering people pleaser, just stating that out. And also, I just realized that when people don't like you, it's very liberating, it's very freeing. You get to do anything that you like. You can't impress somebody who doesn't like you for no reason to begin with. So you cut loose of all of that and just live your life in a way that pleases you. So when I saw this book, The Courage to Be Disliked, I was like, of course I'm reading it. Of course I'm buying it. Of course I'm reading it. And actually, it's the first book that I have picked up. To be honest, I feel like the wordings are a little bit small. Smaller than what I would normally prefer. But I like it enough to struggle with it. Actually started with it, and I like it so far. So I've just gone like a couple of pages inside, but I like it so far. So yeah, guys, here are my 6 books. Looking forward to reading them, and then I'll come back to tell you guys what they are like, you know. So I think there were a couple of books there that I saw, some self-help books that I saw there that I didn't buy, right? Because I don't have enough money to buy all the things that I like. So we're going to be picking and choosing the ones that we can afford, and then maybe later on we can decide to buy the other ones that we like and couldn't buy them at that point in time. And also I just wanted to make sure that I'm just not buying these books because now I'm excited and I want to buy new books. I want to make sure that I'm actually going to read them. And if these were African literature books, if these were books that I buy because I like to read them, I know for a fact that I would have read them. But these ones I'm not so sure because it's been a long time that I read self-help books. And I just don't even want to go into all the other books that I saw that I wanted to buy and I didn't buy them. I saw a lot of African literature books that I'm looking forward to buying. So I saw Chimamanda's latest book. I think it's called, I've forgotten what it's called. And I saw it in hard paper. And it was 25,000 naira. And I was just like, guys, as much as we want to read, isn't it getting so expensive? Right? And by the way, I read African literature just once. Like if I read a book once, I get a good grasp of it, and that's it. So I'm like, do I want to buy one book for that much when I'm going to just read it once, as opposed to self-help? The thing about the other self-help books that I used to have in the past, when I read it, I give it out to somebody and I just feel like it keeps going. Lately, I've decided that when I read, I'm going to keep it in my library because then you can reread it after some years. But that's not the case with fictional books. You read a fictional book once, you know the story for life, and you don't need to read it again. I read Chinua Achebe's, what's that book called? Things Fall Apart when I was, 13, 14? I'm not sure. But I remember the story. I remember everybody in the story. I don't need to read that book again. I honestly do not. And even if I want to read it, just out of nostalgia. But I trust me, I know everybody. I know everybody in that novel, or every relevant person. So I actually saw a couple of books. I considered taking one. It was like 16K. Guys, books are expensive. I need somebody to fund my expensive hobbies. Yeah. Anyways, let's go back to our topic for today, which is self-help books. I saw the ego is what? The ego is something. That blue book. The ego is a problem. I've forgotten. But I saw that and I considered buying it, but I was like, I don't think that I have an ego problem. But the thing with self-help books is that sometimes the title doesn't exactly reflect what is inside. But anyway, that's one of the books that I did not pick up. I also saw, what book did I see again? Now that I want to talk about it, I've actually forgotten. But I also saw some religious books that I really like. To be honest, when you talk about my favorite books of all time, Benny Hinn's Good Morning Holy Spirit is always going to be on that list. And I saw it. I have bought that book twice and lost it twice. And there was Good Morning Holy Spirit and Welcome Holy Spirit, and I wanted to buy them. But I ran out of money, or at least the budget that I had for books. In the month of March, I have surpassed that budget. So any other thing is going to wait until later on. And by the way, I have a long list of books that I want to read that I haven't even scratched. Oh my God, I haven't even scratched the surface of. But either ways, fingers crossed, a miracle is going to happen. Someday, somehow, I'm going to begin to be able to afford all the books that I want to read or to buy them. And God, I just hope that when I can afford them, I have the time to actually read all of those books. But yeah, guys, if you watched this video right up until this point, thank you so much for watching. That's so kind. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up. Also, feel free to recommend me books, self-help books that you've read. Not only self-help, actually, other books that you've read. If you know African literature that is not sad, it's not sorrowful, please leave it in the comment section. If you know self-help books that are, worth reading, leave it in the comment section. I'm looking forward to reading your reviews and your recommendations. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And see you when I drop the very next video if you hit on the notification button so that you're notified. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Looking to see you guys in the next video. Bye.